So thank you for joining me here today. We really appreciate that you tuned into IO News. And we're going to talk today about esports, betting, and esports in general. And we're going to do that today with Aaron Speach, who's the CEO and the co-founder of Esports Technologies. So Aaron, thank you for joining us here today.
Hi, Simona. It's great to be here.
How are you today? All good?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah, great, cool. So let's jump into it. Can you give us a brief intro, to Esports Technologies, maybe your story background, how did you come up with this project?
Yeah, well, it kind of all started with my love of esports. When I was in middle school, a game called StarCraft came out, and I just instantly became addicted. I used to come home from school every single day, play 4 hours a day. Same way I would come home and play like football practice. I would practice. It was really competitive and fun, and they had online leaderboards. And I just realized I was getting really good at the game. And that kind of went on for a few years. And I noticed there weren't a lot of competitions like locally, and it kind of just fell out of favor. And then right after high school, I started hearing whispers that in South Korea there were huge tournaments going on, and for StarCraft, and StarCraft was really becoming their national sport. And I started watching the Kespa Cups, and I just became addicted to watching StarCraft at that point. I wasn't playing a lot anymore because I was, studying and doing school, but I just knew that it was going to be massive. Just watching the arenas in South Korea and the sponsorships that were coming on board.
What year we are talking about?
What's that?
What year we are talking about?
This would be like 2006, 2007.
Wow, you're the first generation of the esports play. I know.
Absolutely.
I know it's weird to say, but it is true. Like first generation.
Yeah. Well, I actually started playing in 97, 98.
Yeah.
So I started playing StarCraft right when it came out, and it kind of, in the US, it was big on the ladders and online and competitively. You wanted to be ranked really high, and you'd brag to the other people that you would chat with on the leaderboards. But Korea really adopted it. And over that 9-year period between when the game came out, they actually got organized, and they created the Kespa Cup, which is like their World Series for StarCraft. And then StarCraft 2 came out in, I think, 2010, 2011. And that really, they just blew it out of the water. Blizzard supported them heavily. So they were able to create really robust championship mechanics. And I just was watching year after year, and I was thinking, this is going to be a really large business. And in 2016, I had an opportunity come across my desk to work on a wagering platform, and I was thinking, well, why isn't there wagering on esports? And in 2016, I mean, esports was bigger, but it still wasn't where it's at in today's landscape. And my whole goal was to bring millennials to a wagering platform, because this was the company that came to my marketing agency's goal was, hey, how do we get more millennials, right? And I was like, well, wait a second, there was this untapped potential of millennials and people that are watching new types of sports. So I decided to launch an esports wagering platform.
Very cool. And you announced actually the pricing of your IPO, I think 2 weeks ago, right? So,
yeah.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did it go? And I mean, what are you planning to do with the capital?
Well, it went fantastic. We IPO'd at $6. I think the market really showed that we were worth a lot more than $6. And if you look at the industries that we're in, it makes sense. When you see that the total audience for esports viewers last year was 500 million people. And if you look at something like the National Football League in the United States, their audience size is 160 million people, and they have 64 billion in wagers placed every single year. So with an audience size of 500 million, you can see how easy that you can put those numbers together and see that it's going to be a huge business. And we're very excited to bring this to the market. And we're planning on developing our IP with this money. Obviously, we're going to do a lot of marketing in the regions that we're in overseas, and we have a couple new products that we'll be launching later in the year.
Great. And which geographical markets are you actually targeting? Do you have any, the plans to maybe get more licenses? Because I'm coming from the traditional online casino space, and it can be tough with licensing, actually targeting different, the different locations, and to comply with the different geographical locations and the countries, and the rules and licensing. So what are the plans, and which geographical markets are you targeting currently?
Yeah, so currently we're in 140 different countries. So we cover most of the countries around the globe with our Curacao license. And right now we target Southeast Asia, and we'll be looking to get into Latin America later in the year. In terms of going into countries that are licensed, we're definitely looking at those opportunities throughout Europe and the United States. One of our board members, Dennis Nylander, he actually is the longest served of the Nevada Gaming Commission. So we do have aspirations to be in the United States, and we think we have great options in different paths into getting into the United States and the rest of Europe. So we definitely understand the challenges of getting licensed and the different regulations that are in each country. But we also look at those challenges as helpful because we're in the business. Everybody that works with us is a part of the wagering business, and those barrier to entries help us. It makes somebody like an Amazon not want to get into the wagering business because they're trying to keep a different kind of profile. It keeps like the apples out of that kind of business. So for us, it's not necessarily always a negative thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned your advisory board, and you have like the cool people over there, because you recently also announced that the Clinton Sparks joined you. I actually did the interview also with him. Very cool person, I have to say. So how it goes there, you have a pretty cool team, right?
Clinton's amazing. I consider him a good friend. Our team is fantastic. Clinton's really, he's a cultural force for us. He's really driving our cultural messaging and helping us kind of define how we present this to these new generations of wagers. He's an integral part of the team. Absolutely. We're super happy to have him on. And we love what he's doing over at EXO.
Yeah.
Obviously what he's done in the past with FaZe Clan was incredible.
Exactly. I believe that you're going to do really great stuff. And you have recently announced the relaunch of GoGavi, right? So how are you going to differentiate your offering and, to compete with the esports first platforms like a Lagbox or Unicorn? Because it's getting pretty competitive. Everyone want to get their the feed into esports. There are so many investments. So what's your plan when it comes to this? Because to be honest with you, you have everything. You don't come across like the esports first platform, because you're basically offering everything. So that's why it's my question, like, how are you going to differentiate that offering?
Yeah, that's a great question. So this battlefield is going to be fought in odds and value, right? And we're going to have the best odds, and we're going to create the best value for our consumers. And that's due to our fantastic modeling team. And we have a dedicated team just to setting our odds. And we already show that in Counter-Strike that we have the best odds. And that's where we're going to lay the foundation, because of all the previous, the big guys, Bet365, Pinnacle, they really won the market share with the best odds and the best value at the end of the day. And right now, it's just not there for the esports consumer. Yeah. If you look at a football match will generally be 50 to 60% cheaper in terms of value than an esports match. So we need to bring the esports values into the same line that football bettors get, that horse racers get, the NFL, MLB, NBA, the odds that you see on the major sports. So that's our goal, is to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to win as much money as possible when they bet on esports.
Exactly. As you mentioned, the Pinnacle and the others, those already established one traditional betting providers, operators, they are actually really trying to get into the esports betting and attract that audience as well. But I think I think that the people who has the background from the esports directly has really great advantage, because the community is really everything when it comes to esports, right? And that mindset, the way how the gamers are thinking, it's really different than the traditional gamblers. So you definitely have the advantage in that. But what do you see? I would like to know your opinion. Do you see much crossover between the casino and esports betting verticals? Because we spoke to maybe the other people in the industry who say it's quite difficult unless you have really specific video game esports team slots. So what do you think, matching that casino esports betting?
For us, we can't release any metrics on that yet, but we haven't, had a difficult time converting people over to casino. And that's why we really offer esports. We do offer traditional sports and we offer casino. And we don't think we should silo esports players or bettors into only one category and say, yeah, if you want to go bet on sports and you want casino, you go somewhere else. We're only esports. No, we don't want to do that, because our esports bettors, they play on regular sports. Why? Because esports fans are still sports fans, right? And that's why we have all the offerings. We put esports front and center. Our site is designed around esports. We use esports characters. That's our first and foremost, but we don't want to exclude the other pieces because people do want to play them. And we've seen that, the crossover has been fantastic for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a general opinion of the CEOs and co-founders of the esports platforms that in general, it's very difficult to convert, the esports player to play the casino and the casino player to play the esports. So only the future will show, because who knows what Gen Zs will do when they come to their 30s and 40s. So
and you're absolutely right? You just hit it right on the head. So back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the players that were coming on to bet on online sports were in their 20s and 30s. Yeah. Now those guys are 50 and older. But what we seem to forget is the older generation was like, bet online. I'm never going to bet online. Betting online's crazy. I'll just use my bookie, right? Yeah. Guess what? Bookies, they've gone extinct, right? Basically, they don't really exist anymore. Now, if you look at the older platforms, they're failing to adapt their websites. Exactly. And now their players are going, oh, I don't want a website with graphics and drop downs and in streams and stuff like that. It's too busy. I just want to see my spreadsheet style. Well, the new generation does want those things, right? And that's that's the goal. Is we know that a player that's 50 and older, they tend to spend more, but that's short-term thinking. We want to gather the new generation players so that they're on our platform for the next 30, 40 years.
Exactly, because, we talk a lot about to the traditional online casinos as well, and they are like, of course, there will be always slots, there will be always the people who play the casino, but you have to think about the generation that is now 18, 20, maybe can't really afford to gamble, but what are going to be their preferences when they're going to be 30, because those guys, they're not even watching TV. I mean, they're most of the time on the Netflix or the Twitch. So
100%.
Exactly. So, and especially the traditional operators are struggling with the content marketing, which is completely the key for the millennials. So it's really interesting to compare those two verticals. But are you maybe planning, talking about the Twitch and Netflix, are you planning partnerships and things like, with the pro players, teams, or influencers?
Yeah, well, that's the main way we do marketing.
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
pro players, influencers, influencer marketing. We signed on Bunny Fufu and Cowsep, which are ex-pro League of Legends players. We have a lot more, professional athletes, esports stars, influencers that we'll be announcing over the next couple months. But what the amazing thing is now I can go out and I can hire an athlete that might be an NBA star, but he's not just an NBA star anymore. Now they're on Twitch, they're streaming, they're playing video games with their other NBA friends.
That's
And
really
the crossover is perfect for us.
That's really telepathy, because I was actually thinking the same, like in our days. I don't know, I'm 31, but in my days, the guys wanted to be next Beckham, and then the Ronaldo, and these days these kids, they just want to be the professional esports players, and get into best teams, and there are these supplements, and now I was last week. I was talking to the CEO of CEO of the company, which is developing like the natural supplements for the gamers to focus better. So now, and I know even there are like a whole psychological teams and the psychological support to all these esports players, because they are under huge pressure to win. So I mean, it's so fast pacing, and it's completely different world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different world, but there's a lot of similarities.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
because it's the same thing. I mean, you look at athletics. I mean, there's whole stores dedicated to people taking supplements for athletics for people that are never going to be athletes,
Yeah.
right? And most of the sales that come from those products
Yes.
are going to come from the normal people that are not going to be athletes, because
Yes.
athletes are what, 0.001%.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense. Yeah, it's all moving in that direction.
I mean, I'm still laughing because I got those, it's all natural, so I'm taking it, and I received it last week, and I was like, and it's like it's all, obviously it's pitched and sell for the gamers, but I was like, I need to focus as well.
There you go.
So why not to take it, right? But but 10 years ago, the common opinion definitely was that, the esports is not a sport. So, and it's just your hobby or kind of like a passion of the teenagers. So I really appreciated this all opinion is changing, and it's becoming basically the generational thing. So let's see how it will go. But what about esports betting and trading exchange? Your site is saying that it's coming soon. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I mean, we're very excited to bring our exchange product. I can't talk too much on it. Again, we're still in the quiet period, so anything that was publicly mentioned in our S1. But it's a product that we're excited. We think the market wants, right? People have the ability to set their own odds and to take bets on traditional sports with a lot of different bettors out there, and it's something we think esports bettors are going to want to use too.
Okay, very good. So when you're going to be able to tell us more, please update us. We're going to cover it for sure. I can't wait for that. And also, I wanted to know, what do you think about the micro betting? Because, as I said, the most of the traditional online casinos have relied heavily on the high rollers. But we're seeing that with new generation, there is more trends of like a lot of smaller bets. So what is your actually already experience with the GoGavi maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I was talking about before, right? So Pinnacle, Bet365, Betway, back in the early 2000s, guess what they had? Micro bettors.
Yeah.
And all the bookies used to tell them, oh, you have somebody that bets $5, $10. That's funny. I've got people that bought $1,000, $5,000, $20,000, right? And they were getting the same sort of grief that I would say a lot of the esports betting sites are getting now. But we're playing the long game, right? We understand people in their 20s and 30s, they make less than people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. but we're willing to gather that market share now because we know that in the future it's going to be worth a lot more. And if you look at our stock price, that's the thinking that the market has as well. So I think, you know, everybody's on the same page with what this new market share will bring for the future value of the players. Of course, we'd love to have larger players, but we also want to go after the market that we set out to go for in the beginning.
Yeah, but you know, it's all you know, the process, and there are going to be always the new trends and new preferences of the bettors. So it is what it is, actually. I mean, it's the same like with the streaming platforms and, you know, the stuff like Netflix and other. I mean, it's our evolution, and I mean, nobody,
100%.
you know, before we were paying for a cable TV, and now we are paying for the streaming platform. So it's all just changing, and it's all natural. But my very last question is, so let me tell you, because I can feel that you have a huge plans with these projects, and you're right, because this market is gonna be huge, is already huge. So where do you see the GoGavi and Esports Technologies in 5 years?
Yeah, I think we're going to be the market leader in esports wagers and you know, new forms of wagering in general. I mean, we have big plans to bring a lot of products to the market. I think you're going to start seeing those in the next coming months. We want to make wagering easier for consumers. We want to make it a lot less friction. And again, we want to bring the best odds and the best value to the game. That way, you know, everybody that's placing a wager has the same opportunity, whether it's regular sports or real sports. I think, you know, over the course of the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot come out of us that is expected and unexpected.
Very good. I mean, I can genuinely feel that you really try your best with this project, you know, and you know, honest intentions brings always great results, you know.
Thank you.
I'm quite sure that we're gonna hear about the esports technologies, and you're gonna be, you know, one of those big names in 5 years, and maybe even early, actually. So thank you so much, Aaron, for being here. And let's see. I mean, let's do another update. And,
okay, absolutely.
And see, you know, maybe you're gonna tell me like, look, Simona, we were talking about the 5 years, but you know, it happened in 1 year.
Well, that's what I hope for, Simona.
Exactly. So, you know, have a great day, and please let us know. We wanna cover everything about you guys, because it's a great project. So
sounds good. No, we'll definitely stay in touch. We'll be happy to share the updates when we're ready to release them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.